Good evening, everyone. This is Ando Starsaber once again. I wanted to focus on how to take your 5-star negotiator team through 7-star negotiator teams on offense and get your number one spot in Grand Arena standings. So right now I have Pitfall. He's typically who I take the payout from. I will be doing that in about 30 seconds here, maybe a little longer because I'm going to explain some things. And the way I do that is specific to the lineup. So specific to the lineup, things you have to have. First of all, you have to have Houndstooth. You have to have him at 7 stars. You need to have all of your abilities filled, and including the reinforcements, ideally. I mean, I have him up at 73,000 power, and that's from having Relic 5 Bosk. That's huge to this mission. That's the only thing that's not a Galactic Republic character you need to have for this team. Things that do very well. So, I have Negotiator at 5 stars. I have a 7-star General Kenobi that helps bring the power up to 6,000. Don't get any of the level 7 abilities except for on Kenobi's Republic Determination. So that's going to be a limitation mostly in your damage output, as you can see here. And your unending loyalty doesn't get as much duration, so primarily those damage is what you lose out on. And so that's one thing you will need. So you need a 5-star negotiator at least. Now, Anakin and Ahsoka, I have both of them at Relic 7. That makes them a bit faster. Anakin's one of the characters I use in my starting lineup. So you want him to be as fast as possible, as beefy as possible. 5s, I currently have Relic 5. I've done it with even less than that. More relics equals more survivability and speed. So that's something you need to have. You want to have an extra tank, which I use the Clone Sergeant's Arc 170. I currently have it 4490, have all its abilities, and I have a 12-star Clone Sergeant. I've done it with less, but more gear on that character gives it more speed and durability, which since it's a tank already, that's hugely important. And lastly, but not least, one thing that's critical to this is Plo Koon's Jedi Starfighter. And one of the reasons for that specifically is his reinforcement ability. You absolutely need to have this at the full level 3 ability, which dispels all debuffs from all allies. Now, one of the things you'll see, Negotiator has two things that make it very annoying, both for mirror matches and for other teams. It has two area of effective abilities. There's the Mobilize, which fires off a AoE at the team and inflicts daze on all of your enemies. That's extremely annoying. It also gives target lock on 2 enemies that aren't target locked, and it gives your team turn meter. This makes Negotiator go very quick in the fight. And as well, it also has Y-Wing and its ultimate. Places those 3 concussion mines on them 1 for 1 turn, and then inflicts daze again. And deals some damage along the way. And it targets, and yeah, lots of damage and lots of days, can't be dispelled. It's truly an annoying ability. So having Plo Koon there, that is very critical ability to have, because if it fires either of those 2 abilities, using his reinforcement ability at the right time can turn around the match very quickly. Plus, he also has the ability Inspiring Charge, which helps beef up your entire team, as well as Wings of the Republic, which is great for rebuffing Houndstooth with Taunt. So those 2 things are very critical. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you the match and show you how this typically works. And it's going to be very different. Most of these things I face, they usually outspeed me in their negotiator. Sometimes they outspeed me in their fighters, sometimes they don't. It all is a lot of RNG anyway, but we'll show you this one with Pitfall here. We'll just talk about it as we play out here. Now you can see I had my 5s go first. It's probably by a little bit of a flip of a coin there. But I'm going to go ahead and target Anakin's Starfighter. You want to bring him as down low as you can. What sometimes happens as you do this, if you can bring it down low enough, you can take enough of his health off that he can't fire off his AoE days like that. In this case, he did. Kind of a moot point. I didn't get to go with Jedi Anakin Skywalker before the Negotiator fired. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this AoE and throw up hopefully a buff block and maybe a heal block on their Houndstooth. If it doesn't, not the end of the world. It happens. And you can see I got a lot of debuffs here. So now I got to contend with these things. This is the ideal moment. At this point, if I were to use my own ability here, the problem with this is it also calls any non-dazed enemies to attack too. Now I have my 5s dazed right now, so I try not to use that. Instead, I'm going to use this other ability, Republic Protection. I'm going to cast it on Jedi Anakin, give him some more power, because that will actually help me in other ways as the fight goes on, and I'll show you that here. It renews the Valor buff and keeps him in the fight a little bit longer. So now we have the tank in there, the Clone Sergeant. You'll see this a lot. Takes a lot of the heat off of the Houndstooth and can and keeps your shots away from Jedi Anakin Skywalker. Right? Jedi Anakin Skywalker's fighter is one of the two biggest threats on this team. I'm going to bring in Plo Koon's Starfighter and clear all these debuffs off. It also adds some health back, and as you can see, we're looking a lot better right now. I'm going to go ahead and use the second ability to try to bring up my team's turn meter and give us a little bit of a tactical advantage in this fight. And now their negotiator was confined to its basic ability, so I have a little bit of an advantage right now, even though it started out with a lot of crap on my head to deal with. Now, unfortunately, I got the Houndstooth as a wall to get through. I was able to take down the Clone Sergeant Starfighter below a certain health, so that's no longer taunting at this time. Now I can use the Wings of the Republic to clear all these buffs off of the Houndstooth and keep it as a viable option. Now they brought their Plo Koon Starfighter. That turned the fight around again, so unfortunately it cuts both ways. It's that type of knife, but at least right now I have my own mobilized to try to bring this down. And I can do a lot of damage in the meanwhile. Remember when you use Umbara missile pods, it always takes all the target locked hits. So you want to try to target it a non-target locked target whenever you use it, whenever you can. So now, get a little low on time here. I'm not going to comment as much because I need to get this done. You can see I took the Houndstooth out of commission. Now I got some options here. I can bring in Ahsoka, which in fact I'm going to do to clear that taunt. That will allow me to turn this fight around a little bit. Now the taunt's gone. I can go after Jedi Anakin's fighter. It's gone. Boom. He does his ultimate. Now, it killed off my Anakin, so that's a bit of a disadvantage. Not necessarily the end of the world, but it's a costly thing. Now I lost the Houndstooth. See, this is where it can get a little dicey when you lose more than one ship in the mix. You kind of have to make smart decisions because RNG can make or break this part of the fight. Lost Plo Koon Starfighter. I'm going to go ahead and keep working down that fighter because none of these are really big hitters. Kind of the Ebon Hawk is and kind of the Umbaran Starfighter. So we just have to keep working it. I'm going to use the ultimate to clear the daze. Unfortunately, because it's there, I lost the fight. That happens sometimes. You just have to be patient. When that does happen, you take it on board, learn from anything that was a mistake along the way, and sometimes accept that sometimes it all comes down to RNG. I'm going to go ahead and reset this so I can kind of show you during the length of this video, not to make it too long, not have to edit it heavily. I just want to show you how it can go differently, just by comparison. So it'll open up relatively the same way. The speeds are relatively similar, so I'm going to get to go first with my Umbaran. He's going to get to go first with his Anakin. I'm going to rifle off a Houndstooth taunt. They're going to write theirs. He's going to go. I actually got to go first with Jedi Anakin, but was not enough of his health to keep him from using the mobilize ability. So again, I'll use the Republic Protection and cast it on Anakin Starfighter and just keep working through this part of the battle. And it's a lot of down to relics and gearing and all that type of thing. And I switched to Clone Sergeant with Anakin, try to bring that thing down because it's less than, excuse me, 100% protect, or less than, when it's got 0 protection, that's when it'll stop taunting. So we're going to go ahead and bring in Plo Koon Starfighter, clear those dazes and debuffs. Use the Inspiring Charge to bring everyone a little bit more turn meter. Keep working. Now, since there's a target lock on Clone Sergeant already, I'm going to go ahead and try to add one to Houndstooth. Didn't work. Refocus our efforts back on Clone Sergeant some more. Bring it down to 0 protection. The taunt is clear on Houndstooth. That's very important to recognize. He cleared my buffs. It can go a lot. You can see there's a lot of wonky ways this can go, and it just depends on what gets brought in, when it gets brought in. Now I have a little bit of an opening on their Jedi Anakin, and I can cast some other stuff. Did not get the buff block on Houndstooth. That's what I was gunning for. Did not happen, unfortunately, so that was a little bit of RNG factored in there. So he has, again, the advantage. This is just lousy RNG for me. That's really not no way else to describe it here. But sometimes Jedi Anakin can turn things around pretty rapidly, so don't necessarily count yourself out of the fight. Just realize you got a little bit more fight to go. Okay, so you can see they got the ultimate off, lost my Umbar, and that's not a good sign when that happens. That means I'm down to Jedi Anakin and have to kind of figure out how to keep working my way through this and just prioritizing based on the targets that are available. You can take out the Umbaran, tends to be a heavy hitter. They bring in their Plo Koon, throws up the buff that can be cleared by Ahsoka, and she one-shotted it. That's not often you see that, but it happens. She's a very heavy hitter, so that's helpful. And then try to keep Anakin in the fight as much as possible. Did not work, so now it's down to Ahsoka. Now, fortunately, that doesn't help their cause too much. I can bring in my own take, and then it's just a battle of attrition here. Do I hit harder, or do they? I have a hard hitter in Ahsoka and one tank in the Clone Sergeant. They have a decent hard hitter in Ebon Hawk. Now they brought in Ahsoka. That's going to hurt my cause, and this is where being also a 5-star negotiator versus a 7-star negotiator team hurt me quite a bit, because I do not have that extra starfighter slot, and they get off their days. And I just have to keep pushing through, prioritizing their Ahsoka, seeing if I can get it out. Maybe doing so with my ultimate. Not quite, but that bomb blast when it goes off might do the trick for me. I still have my tank. Their Ahsoka's gone. I can clear my debuffs with Ahsoka. I can set some little protection here. You can see there's a lot of different ways to skin this cat, and you just have to know your ships, know their abilities, work your priority, and despite what was definitely coming from behind, you see a victory. 4-1. All said, kind of a close victory. Sometimes it goes nicer. It's all RNG based. You just really got to get to know this team, what it does. Those are the ships I typically use. You just have to make it work for you. Any questions, I'll try to answer them in Discord or line. With the Sandal Star Saber signing out.